Somewhere between your dinner plate and your bedtime snack, there's a small choice that either helps your kidneys quietly do their job overnight or makes them work a little harder while you sleep. Most people have no idea which category their favorite bedtime fruit falls into. And here's the twist. One of the fruits everyone assumes is the healthy one might actually be the wrong choice for a lot of people. Stick around. Tonight, that changes. I'm Dr. William Mercer. I've spent years reviewing research on kidney health and healthy aging, turning it into practical advice you can actually use. No product, no program today, just 8 fruits and the real reasons they made this list. Here's the one thing worth knowing before we start. Your kidneys spend all day clearing excess potassium from your blood. When kidney function is even mildly reduced, which describes a huge number of people who don't yet know it, that clearing process gets harder and potassium can build up in ways that affect your heart rhythm. That's why some healthy fruits deserve more caution than they usually get. Keep that one idea in your back pocket. Now let's get into the first fruit. Fruit number 1, blueberries. Blueberries might be small, but don't underestimate them. Their deep blue color comes from compounds called anthocyanins, powerful antioxidants that help combat the low-grade inflammation linked to gradual kidney decline. Think of them as a tiny nighttime cleanup crew, quietly helping reduce the wear and tear your kidneys face over the years. Here's what surprised me when I first looked into the research. Compared with most fruits, blueberries are remarkably low in potassium. That means a modest bowl before bed is very unlikely to put extra strain on your kidneys while they're doing their overnight work. I think of a woman I'll call Helen. She started keeping blueberries by the fridge simply because they were an easy grab-and-go snack. She wasn't trying to support her kidneys. It just turned out to be one of the smartest habits she could have picked. If you remember one thing, make it this. A small handful of blueberries before bed gives you meaningful antioxidant support while staying exceptionally gentle on your kidneys. Fruit number 2, tart cherries. If one fruit seems almost designed for bedtime, it's this one. Tart cherries, especially the Montmorency variety, are one of the few natural food sources of melatonin, the hormone that helps regulate your sleep cycle. Several small studies, mostly involving adults over 50, suggest they may help people sleep a little longer and a little better. The research is still developing, so I don't want to oversell it, but the early results are genuinely encouraging. Let me ask you something. Have you ever changed one small habit with almost no expectations, only to realize later it actually made a difference? That's exactly what happened to a woman I'll call Nancy. She swapped her usual late-night cookie for a small bowl of tart cherries. A few weeks later, she casually mentioned she wasn't lying awake nearly as long before falling asleep. As an added bonus, tart cherries also contain anti-inflammatory compounds similar to those found in blueberries, while remaining gentle on your kidneys. Here's the part worth remembering. This may be the closest thing nature has to a bedtime fruit. Before we move on, there's one fruit almost everyone expects to see on this list, but I left it out on purpose. I'll explain why in just a few minutes, because understanding that one decision changes the way you look at every fruit that follows. Fruit number 3, apples. The next fruit is probably sitting in your kitchen right now, and chances are you've been eating it the wrong way. Apples may not seem exciting, but they're one of the smartest choices you can make before bed. They're rich in a fiber called pectin, along with plant compounds called polyphenols, both of which help slow the rise of blood sugar after you eat. Why does that matter? Because diabetes remains the leading cause of kidney disease, and repeated blood sugar spikes gradually damage the tiny blood vessels your kidneys rely on to filter your blood. One spike isn't the problem. Thousands of them over years quietly become one. Here's the mistake most people make: peeling the apple. Much of the fiber and many of those protective plant compounds are concentrated in the skin. Remove it, and you're throwing away a meaningful part of what makes apples so beneficial. So here's the practical takeaway. Eat the whole apple, skin included. It's one of the simplest, safest bedtime snacks for long-term kidney health. Fruit number 4, strawberries. This next fruit looks like dessert, But inside your body, it behaves very differently. Strawberries are packed with vitamin C, antioxidants, and naturally contain less sugar than many of the fruits people reach for at night. Here's what most people don't realize. Many late-night snacks, even ones marketed as healthy, cause a rapid rise in blood sugar, followed by a drop a few hours later, which can quietly interfere with good sleep. Strawberries largely avoid that problem. You get real nutrition, natural sweetness, and very little downside. The bottom line is simple. A small bowl of strawberries delivers dessert-like satisfaction without asking much of your kidneys or your blood sugar. Fruit number 5, the biggest healthy eating myth. Before I show you the next fruit, I need to clear up one of the biggest misconceptions in healthy eating, because chances are you've heard it your whole life. Remember the fruit I told you I left off this list? It wasn't just one fruit. It was 2, bananas and oranges. Here's why that surprises so many people. They're 2 of the most commonly recommended fruits for general health, but they're also among the higher potassium fruits you can eat. If your kidneys are healthy, that's usually not a problem at all. A banana is a perfectly good snack for most people. But here's what almost nobody talks about. Millions of people have mildly reduced kidney function without knowing it. And when your kidneys can't clear potassium as efficiently, a daily banana or a large glass of orange juice may not be the automatic healthy choice people assume. That isn't a reason to fear bananas or oranges. It's simply a reminder that healthy and kidney-friendly aren't always the same thing. Keep that distinction in mind, because every fruit from this point forward was chosen with your kidneys specifically in mind. Fruit number 5, pineapple. This next fruit surprises almost everyone. Pineapple has a reputation for being too sweet to belong on a health-focused list, but appearances can be deceiving. One reason researchers keep studying pineapple is an enzyme called bromelain, which has been linked to reduced inflammation and better digestion. Here's the part one found especially interesting. Unlike many plant compounds that are broken down before your body can use them, bromelain is one of the few that can still be absorbed in an active form after digestion. That's one reason pineapple continues attracting attention in inflammation research. Of course, there's one mistake almost everyone makes: portion size. Because pineapple tastes like dessert, it's easy to eat far more than you intended, especially if you've already convinced yourself it's healthier than it tastes. A small cup is all you need. If you remember one thing, remember this: pineapple proves that sweet and kidney-friendly are not opposites. Fruit number 6, grapes. You probably already have this next fruit sitting somewhere in your kitchen. That alone makes it one of the easiest healthy habits on this list. Grapes contain resveratrol, a compound researchers have studied for supporting healthy blood vessels. That's important because your kidneys depend on thousands of tiny blood vessels to filter your blood every minute of every day. But there's another reason I like grapes. They require absolutely no effort. No peeling, no cutting, no cleanup. And when you're trying to build a habit that actually lasts, convenience matters more than perfection. Picture 2 people with exactly the same evening routine. Both reach into the kitchen after dinner. One automatically grabs salty crackers. The other reaches for a small bowl of grapes. It takes the same amount of effort, but over months and years, those tiny choices can lead to very different outcomes. Here's the practical takeaway. If you're looking for the easiest bedtime fruit to stick with, grapes are hard to beat. Fruit number 7, watermelon. This next fruit surprised me more than almost any other. Not because it's especially rich in vitamins, but because of something much simpler: hydration. Watermelon is more than 90% water, giving your kidneys the fluid they need to filter efficiently. It also contains citrulline, a compound your body converts into substances that help support healthy blood vessels. Think of your kidneys like a river. When water keeps flowing, everything moves the way it should. When the flow slows down, things begin collecting where they don't belong. That's why staying hydrated quietly supports the work your kidneys do every single day. But here's the important part most videos leave out. Watermelon contains more potassium than the fruits we've talked about so far, although still less than fruits like cantaloupe or honeydew. That doesn't mean you should avoid it. It simply means portion size matters. One moderate serving is a great choice for most people. Eating a huge slice every night is where it's worth paying closer attention, especially if you already know your kidney function isn't ideal. One more practical tip. Because watermelon is so hydrating, eating a large portion right before bed can easily send you to the bathroom during the night. Having a smaller serving a little earlier in the evening usually works much better. Remember this, with watermelon, the key isn't avoidance, it's moderation. One more fruit to go, and it may be the gentlest choice on this entire list. Fruit number 8, cranberries. If you've made it this far, here's the fruit I wanted to save for last. Cranberries are the lowest potassium fruit on this list by a wide margin. Most people know them because of their reputation for urinary tract health. To be completely fair, the research there is mixed. Cranberries aren't the miracle cure they're sometimes made out to be. But one thing is well established. Fresh or unsweetened cranberries are exceptionally low in potassium, while providing valuable antioxidant compounds, making them one of the gentlest fruit choices for your kidneys. Remember the blueberry cleanup crew? Think of cranberries as the security guard. They're tart enough that most people naturally stop eating before overdoing it. In other words, portion control almost takes care of itself. There's only one thing worth watching: added sugar. Sweetened dried cranberries are much closer to candy than fruit. Fresh, frozen, or unsweetened dried cranberries are the versions that actually deliver the benefits. So here's the final takeaway. When you're unsure which fruit to choose, cranberries are about as kidney-friendly as fruit gets. One habit that matters more than any single fruit. If there's one idea I hope you remember after this video, it's this: variety beats quantity. Instead of eating large amounts of just one fruit, rotate 2 or 3 different fruits from this list throughout your day. You'll naturally get a wider range of nutrients while avoiding too much of any single one, including potassium. As a general guide, one serving is about a small piece of fruit, or roughly half a cup. When you step back and look at the entire list, a simple pattern appears. None of these fruits are miracle foods. None of them are magic. They're simply nutrient-rich, naturally lower in potassium than many popular alternatives, and gentle on your kidneys. And that's exactly what makes them smart choices. Not because they're trendy, but because they're sustainable. Before we finish, there's one important thing I want to leave you with. If you've already been diagnosed with kidney disease, or you've been told to follow a potassium-restricted diet, use this video as general education, not as a replacement for advice from your doctor or a registered dietitian. Your needs depend on your specific kidney function, medications, and lab results. And if it's been several years since you've had your kidney function checked, consider asking about it at your next routine visit. It's a simple conversation that could give you valuable information long before symptoms ever appear. Because that's the difficult truth about kidney disease. It usually doesn't hurt. It doesn't flash a warning light. It doesn't tell you something is wrong until significant damage has already happened. That's why small choices, like the fruit you reach for before bed, matter far more than they seem. Now, think of one person in your life. Maybe it's a parent who still reaches for a banana every night because they've always believed it was the healthiest option. Maybe it's a spouse. Maybe it's a friend quietly living with kidney disease. If this video helped you, send it to them. Sometimes the simplest way to care for someone is sharing information that could help them make one better decision tomorrow. And now I'm curious, which of these 8 fruits do you already have in your kitchen? Let me know in the comments. And if there's one fruit you've been avoiding, or one you were surprised to see on this list, I want to hear that too. Finally, remember this. Everything you've heard today is for educational purposes and should never replace personalized medical advice from your own healthcare provider. Your kidneys have been working quietly for you every single day of your life. They've never asked for attention. They've never asked for credit. Tonight, give them something that quietly works in their favor. Pick one fruit, just one, because tomorrow, when you open your refrigerator, you'll never look at that fruit bowl quite the same way again.
Dr. William Mercer.